Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. I've gotten a couple of people requesting uh, a studio tour of my drum studio. This is my home studio, and I felt like now is the time to do this because I'll be uh, I'll be losing this room. We we need another room in the house for my daughter who's 6 months old now and still sleeping in our room, and so this wonderful studio that I built is going to be her room, and so I wanted to go through it before I lost it, and I'll be moving my studio back to what is now my son's playroom over there. I guess you can kind of see a little bit of it, and I've had my drums set up there as well, and it's a smaller space, but I've made some really cool records there. I'm very I'm feeling very positive about it, and I'm super happy my daughter's getting a wonderful big space to finally have a nursery in. But I think the best way to organize this is there's a couple of features that I built into the room, two mainly that I wanted to look at that might inspire you for your home studios if you're in a similar situation. So I figured I'd do the room first, then maybe go over some of the drums, and then finally the recording gear, which I don't have much of, to be honest with you. So this is the room. This is the gigantic mess on this side. You'll notice it is a bit of a mess. I work best in organized chaos. I've always been like that. I see a lot of studio tours and everything looks so clean and nice, and I wish I can keep my room that clean, but this is just the way my brain works. I don't lose things when I work like this because my hands always go reach in the same place for the same thing. So I know where all my snares are and where all my drums are and some of the little hardware bits and things like that, all my sticks and everything. So it's a little messy. Sorry. um, I think the first thing that a lot of people have asked me about is this. I wanted to spend some time on it. What I did was when I was building this room, I pretty much set up, I think, a 5x7 drum rug where I thought the drums would best be and just took a risk and did it. And the ceiling was unfinished. So I finished the ceiling, but I left it open right there, right above the drums. And then I put, I can't remember what type of wood that is, but they were pretty thick lats of wood that I cut lengthwise to fit in kind of perfectly. And I finished the sides off. It's all clean. It's all done clean. But pretty much right above there is my living room. And that's the floor of my living room. So in terms of isolation in the house, it's not great. But it does give me a little more height. I think it puts me up to about eight and a bit feet, which is not enough to record drums usually. I mean, in a real recording studio, but it's helped me out a lot. It's given me a lot of air and let me really make use of my overheads. And I get a lot of questions about it. This versus hanging a cloud down. And my whole thing about this room was trying to make it sound as big as I possibly could rather than, smaller. So I said, why not try building up instead of, coming down with a cloud above the drums? And that's what I did. And uh, so I think that's one unique feature of the room. And the other one is right over there, and that's a window. And I mean, one, you're in a basement. This is in the basement of my house. You're surrounded by foundation and earth, right? So that's not where the sounds are going to leave outside. I was really more worried about my neighbors hearing me than the rest of my house hearing me when I built this. So what I did was I built a frame around the window, and then I built a sound panel using those are 1x6s. Then I essentially built a wall in that sound panel, which means there's a 1x3. Sorry, there's 1x3 framing. There's Roxel and there's Gyprock, and so I mean this is essentially a kind of like a sound panel that's pretty much a wall. And let me put the phone down a second. I should have figured a good spot to put this, but I can remove that panel when I want natural light, like this. So that I don't have to permanently close off the window. This is the frame I built, right? I built it out of, that looks like, I didn't build it out of pine. I think I built it out of a stronger wood. And it's such that when I put this panel back on, it seals, I mean, pretty hermetically, so that you don't hear sound coming out of this window. And there you go. I mean, I can't say I've seen that very much. I'm sure some of you have done something similar. Let me know if you have. But it works. It really, really works. I mean, you got to be like on my stairs, which are right there, to hear the thump of the drums. So it definitely works. I think those are like, for a basement studio, the kind of unique features that I built into it, other than this diagonal wall here. But diagonal walls are really common in studios. You don't want too many parallel surfaces. So those would be the two things for me that I think made this room really cool. For drums, I endorse Tama drums, so I definitely have a couple of Tama kits in here. I have a couple of birch bubingas. This is a 24, 16. That's a 26 in the same wood. 13, 16. Here's the 12, the matching 12. There's the 14. Everything's a little all over the place. This is my dad's. These are my dad's vintage Ludwigs. I guess they'd be super classics. 22. There's the rest of the kit. 12, 13, 16. The Superphonic is there. I can move over to the snares. There's a bit of my Slingerland. And I think the rest of the Slingerland is in cases, because I just used it on a session recently, but I love that kit. Here's another Birch Bubinga kick drum. That's 20. Bubinga Elite 8. Silver Star 10. Actually sounds really cool. I love this kit. Here, I shouldn't do that. This is 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16. And the 24, I believe, is in one of those cases, kick drum. And then I've got extras that I bought off a friend who swapped the lugs out. So those aren't the original lugs, but it means I got them for an amazing deal. And some of my snare drums. There's the matching snare for the Birch Bubinga. An old Yamaha that I'm using, wild brass. The Pearl, 80s Pearl Export that you may have seen in some of my videos that I think bats way above its price range. Starphonic brass. I use this snare drum live a lot, especially with Brittany, because it sounds really studio and expensive, but it's dark, so it's not too snappy on stage, and guitar players really like it. I think that's an old Premier Royal Ace, but I'm not sure. But very cool drum nonetheless. This is the first pro kit that I bought when I was in high school. This is called an Impact. They were made in Quebec. So 80s. Yeah, they're made out of carbon fiber. And I hadn't played it in over 10 years. And a couple of years ago, I put some heads on it, some new heads. And I forgot how amazing it sounded. And I have been using it on sessions. I really love it. That is a Slingerland Parade snare drum. That sounds really cool. There's the Bonham mid-70s Superphonic. I just bought these Rototoms this week. Dream cymbals, all dream cymbals. I sold all my cymbals and just kept my dream cymbals. And I love them. I think I kept a Neil Peart Paragon. It's got to be somewhere. There are my cymbals. I kept a Neil Peart Paragon China, because I made this move right around when Neil Peart passed away, and I couldn't bear to sell it. But other than that, I've kept all my dream cymbals. And I mean, that's it. So I've got a couple of Tama kits, a vintage Ludwig. I should have taken my Slingerlands out of the case, because that's probably, I love that kit. I love that kit very much. And I've also got a Tama Rockstar that I've been using on the road with Bobby Bazzini from the 80s that just looks so inappropriate. And I really love it for that reason. So I use it. I got some octabands. And so these are the drums. I mean, these are the snares. I've got a Tama SLP Kapur that I use a lot. It's in a case because I just had it out for a session recently. It's probably in that case there. I've got an SLP Bronze that I use quite a bit. Brighter snare, something I use when I'm tuning it higher. But it speaks super well. I've got an Acrylite that I use on the road with Bobby and in the studio a lot. So those are the drums. I don't think nothing too crazy, but that's what I use, and I just mix and match and pick what it is. Sometimes what it is I feel like playing, what it is I feel like seeing when I'm playing. I don't necessarily always get delivered a track and say, well, I think I need to use this kit and switch it up. Sometimes just like, this is what I feel like using today. And if it works, it works. And if it doesn't, then I'll make the appropriate decision, you know. For microphones, that's a 414, Beta 52, RE20, the Millennium Falcon of microphones. I love the RE20. Obviously 57, gotta have one. 421. I use a pair of a Warm Audio 47 Juniors, Fet Juniors. I've got a Bar Dynamic M260, which I don't know why Bar Dynamic hasn't reissued this microphone. I think it was cheaper than the M160, and it's not as bright. And for those of us recording drums at home, ribbon mics that are hypercardioid, and you know, with a full extended bottom, depending on which version of this microphone you have. I think the later versions have a roll off, but full extended bottom and a smooth top. I feel like it's just like the perfect microphone for home studios. I wish I had a pair of them. SM58 on the snare. I like to use 58 on the snare because it looks like early Live Police shows where Stuart Copeland would have one on his snare. So I'm just geeking out. EV635A. I got one there in one of the knee mic positions. Those were lent to me from a friend of mine, by a friend of mine. And I should probably give them back to him at some point. And room mics, Cascade Fatheads. Can't go wrong with these. Bang for your buck. Incredible microphones. And then the coolest piece of gear I have is the APIs. And that's usually kick, snare, and overhead. So the basis of my sound is the good stuff, you know. Now, I used to have a Focusrite. Well, I do still have it, but I use it for sequences live. So Focusrite Scarlett. And I would put the APIs into this old Apogee 88,000 and send that in light pipe to the Focusrite Scarlett. And then the rest would just go into the Scarlett. But since I started using that live, as a quick fix for now, I bought this Soundcraft Signature 22 multi-track console. And as you can see, it's got a USB, so it's actually an interface. So the conversion definitely isn't as cool, and I can't use the Apogees going into this light pipe. It's not built that way. So I've got the APIs going in pretty much hard line into the ins here. And then I've got everything else going into this board as well. And I actually think the pre's sound pretty cool, especially for, it's not an expensive board. The preamps are pretty impressive. But I do hear a difference in the conversion, and I'm going to upgrade. But I'm definitely not going to get rid of this board because if any of you have seen a lot of my 80s drum sound videos, a lot of it comes from this board because the EQs are actually really cool on this board. It's got the Lexicon reverbs, and the gated verb on it is just amazing. Actually, the reverbs in general on this board, even if you're just going for a regular studio drum sound, are impressive. It's a lot of fun. It's just a lot of fun to use. So I'm gonna be upgrading my front end in terms of conversion and preamps, but I'm not going to get rid of this because I love to use it when I'm going for something really idiosyncratic, really 80s. So it's a cool piece of gear, man. My iMac. These are Atom. I think they're called T7Vs. They're not the expensive ones. They're not the A7Xs. They're below that. But what's really cool about Atom speakers, even in this price range, is that they do kind of represent the depth of your mix, like not just top and bottom, but the front to back, like expensive speakers. I think in that respect, they bat a lot higher than their price range, where you can feel the 3D depth of what it is you're recording and mixing, especially with drums. That's so crucial to, okay, you got your overhead set up and all your ambient microphones and your close mics and everything is in phase. How is everything pushing against everything else so that the drum set feels big and real and 3D? And that was really important to me. And I feel like these speakers for that price are unbeatable, And this was lent to me by a buddy of mine. It is the Yamaha PM430. I've got a couple of videos of what this drum sound can do. It doesn't have any gain knobs. It doesn't have phantom. It doesn't have phase. I think it was a monitor board, an 8-channel monitor board. But I use it when I want to do something really lo-fi, and I want to print it that way. And I just kind of print the whole drum sound and send it 1 or 2 track to my DAW, and that's very cool. That's about it. What'll be cool is I'll be moving to a smaller space, and I guess I can kind of do the same thing again once I have the smaller space set up, and show you guys how I like to try to get bigger drum sounds, cheat the listener into thinking I'm using a bigger room, because I have used that room before and I made some really cool records there, and I think it's absolutely doable. You know, and I can show you how I get the results that I want. Definitely nothing, there's no dogma to it. I mean, these things change for me all the time, and they're just processes that I like to use. But yeah, leave a comment. I hope you like it.